Today we can breathe easy because we're going to talk about protecting our lungs from dust. Now the best place to collect dust is at the source, so you need some sort of a high-powered dust collection system like my Cyclone here, or one of those smaller portable bagged units, just to get all the dust directly from the tool that's producing it. For smaller portable power tools, I recommend either a shop vac or a specialized dust extraction system. Now, regardless of which system you're using, just because it looks like you've pulled all the dust off of the surface and there's really no visible dust, that doesn't mean that you got it all. The most dangerous stuff is the smallest stuff, and you can't even see it. Now, when talking about dust particles, we're going to refer to them in a unit of measurement known as microns. And a micron is just 1/1000th of a millimeter, so it's really, really small. Now, just for reference, the dot from a simple pencil point is roughly 615 microns. Now, the dust that we come in contact with the shop comes over a range of sizes. The largest is going to be between 100 and 300 microns, and that's the stuff that usually just falls to the floor. Going a little bit smaller, things that are around 10 microns, that's the stuff we start to breathe in. It gets lodged in the nasal passages and also at the top of the lungs, but the good thing is our body's natural ability is there to sort of expel it through normal coughing. Okay, I said normal coughing. Now the smallest stuff, around 2.5 microns or less, is really the most dangerous. That gets down into the bottom of the lungs, and some of it does get dissolved into the bloodstream and then filtered out by the liver, but not all of it. And the stuff that stays there can lead to allergies, lung disease, and even cancer. Now, even though I have a really good dust collection system, I'm never 100% positive that I'm getting all of the small, really fine dust particles. So I like to protect myself a little bit more by using a respirator. Now, some people may see this and think it's a little bit overkill because they just use, regular dust masks. Now, my problem with a regular mask is, of course, you could spend a little bit more money to get the nicer ones that fit better, but most of these don't really fit that well over your face, and you wind up having gaps where you're just taking in unfiltered air, which is obviously defeating the purpose of it. The second thing is overall comfort. Because these are usually made of paper, they're not that comfortable to wear for long periods of time, whereas a respirator with this nice, very soft rubber area here around your face is actually pretty comfortable. And when you work out here all day long, you really need something that's comfortable. Otherwise, you're just going to keep taking it off and, again, defeating the purpose of wearing it in the first place. So I usually recommend a half-mask respirator, very similar to this one. So let's talk a little bit about the filtration itself. And with most respirators, it's really going to be two stages. The first is going to be the dust filtration or particulate filtration that you get with soft pads like this stuff here. The second one is the one that filters out the fumes. Usually it's an organic cartridge, and you can actually get cartridges that filter all kinds of different things for specific tasks. But for most things that we do as woodworkers and most of the finishes we deal with, the standard organic vapor cartridge that typically comes with these respirators is more than adequate for what we do. Now let's take a really close look at one of these filter units, and I'll show you what's inside. Now at first glance, you might think that this cartridge has something pretty complex going on inside there, but the reality is, it's just activated carbon. Anyone who's ever had a fish tank has had a lot of experience with this stuff. Now, activated carbon is really cool stuff. It may just look like an irregular black pebble of some sort, but the reality is this stuff is incredibly porous. You think of the surface of activated carbon sort of like maybe the surface of an English muffin, where you have a lot of nooks and crannies and places for things to get lodged into. But instead of butter, we're basically filtering out the air that we breathe. So all of the bad gases and things, as they go sort of pass through here, they get stuck into all of these nooks and crannies on the activated carbon. The surface area of these things is incredibly large for the size that it is. If you take just 1 gram of activated carbon, you get the equivalent of over 5,000 square feet of space on 1 gram of that stuff. So now let's talk about particulate filtration or dust filtration. Now it's important to know what the numbers on these filters means, because at some point you're going to have to buy replacements, and if you start looking online it can get pretty confusing pretty fast if you don't know what these mean. The good thing is it's pretty simple. There's usually a simple letter and number. The number itself, 95, 100, it depends on which ones you buy, just refers to the efficiency. If it's 95, it means that it collects 95% of the airborne particles that pass through it. If it's 100, it doesn't exactly collect 100%, it's usually labeled as 99.97% effective, which is pretty darn good. Now the letter is typically either N or P, and I think there's a few others, but most of the time I don't come in contact with those. If it's N, it means that you can't use those for oil-based aerosols that might be in the air. And for dust, that's really not a problem. If you buy the one with P on it, that means that you can use that with oil-based plus everything else. So typically when I'm buying replacements, I just buy P just in case, because who knows what I'm going to be using it for at some point, and it's usually not that much more expensive. So the ones that typically come with the respirators, again, are like an N95, for instance. When I buy replacements, I like to get the upgraded best ones that I can get, so I typically go with something that's labeled P100. And that's what these little pink ones are. And I don't want them to be pink, but that's the way that they come. And it catches a lot of attention, and you know, the ladies love it. Now I get a lot of questions about my respirator setup, so I'm going to show you exactly what I use. I've got a 3M 7500 series respirator, very comfortable, and the real reason why I like this one is because of the down-firing exhaust. Most respirators have an exhaust right in the front, which tends to go right up into your glasses, your safety lenses, and fog them up. This, on the other hand, fires straight down, so you would never really have that problem. Now the cartridges for this, pretty straightforward. They're always color-coded. The one I use is color-coded with black. That's a standard organic vapor cartridge, and that's what's going to come with it when you buy this brand new. The system is pretty straightforward. This is actually what it comes with. Okay, twists on and locks in place. Now, the organic filter cartridge has this little plastic cover on it. If I can get that off. It's got this cover on it, okay? So now we're back down to the single organic cartridge itself. Then the particulate filtration goes on top of that, and then this little plastic piece holds it in. So if you want to step up to a better filter, this is the one that I purchased, okay, the little pink one. The problem is this doesn't go on there, okay, and this plastic piece doesn't allow this to fit. So I did a little bit more research and realized that there are alternative covers, so you don't have to use this one. What I wound up finding was a cover that had another port that I could attach this to, right? So now, and it's relatively inexpensive, it's only a couple bucks for that. So the ultimate setup with both stages of filtration, P100 on the outside, my organic filter, all connected together, to me that's the ultimate setup. But what you have to keep in mind is these cartridges are heavy, and you do not want these on your face all day if you're not finishing. If you're just sanding, why would you have that on there, you know, for the entire day? So the good thing is these filters, unlike the ones that come with it, these have that port on the outside, and I'm sure you guys have seen me use this in the show before. It connects directly to the respirator and is now pretty lightweight and very comfortable to wear all day. Now when you go to buy your respirator, you're probably going to notice that they come in multiple sizes. You want to get the one that fits your face the best. Now for me, maybe as a frame of reference that might help some of you, the size that I use is a large. The seal around the face is really nice, goes over the bridge of the nose and under my chin, and I could wear this thing all day and not smell anything. And that's really what you want to do. I mean, if we had access to the proper fit testing that they get done, like if you have to wear these for your occupation, you'll probably have to go through a fit test where they determine how good the seal is, and you get one that's perfectly fit to your face. Well, we don't really have that luxury. So a lot of times, if I'm using, let's just say an oil-based varnish, something that's not too offensive, but you can use it as sort of a testing material, you know, do a sample piece, finish it. If you can't smell anything at all, then I think you're good to go. Ideally, if you could get access to a fit test to make sure that you've got a perfect seal, that's even better yet. But if you do smell something, you may want to take that one back to the store and try a different size so you can get a better fit. And one thing to keep in mind is if you have facial hair, guys, you want to make sure that you don't have hair between this connecting point and your skin, because that's going to reduce the efficiency of the filtration as well. Now, one more thing I want to go over concerning, you know, your lungs and keeping the shop air clean are air cleaners. I'm sure you've seen these. Some of you may already have them. Typically, they're hung from the ceiling, and it's basically just a big fan and a filter. And the idea is it pulls all the air out of the shop, filters it so that you have nice, clean air. Now, the thing is, I've seen these used improperly in the past, and I just want to make sure you guys understand how they're supposed to work. The idea is this big fan keeps the air in the shop in circulation. It reminds me of like a pool filter. A pool filter can't work unless the dust is in suspension in the water, and those things are pretty much the same. If that dust is just laying on a surface, it can't pick it up 10 feet in the air. So it tries to keep the air circulated. Now, if you're walking around in the room, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's helping you, because it's stirring the dust up. And before the dust gets from where it's originating from to where it's going, what's it have to pass? It's got to pass my face. So I'm going to breathe it in anyway. So running these things while you're working in the shop and assuming that that's cleaning the air adequately for you and you don't need to use some sort of a mask or respirator probably isn't the best way to go. What I typically recommend people do when it comes to these air cleaners, I mean, if you want to run it while you're in the shop, I still recommend using a respirator. That's perfectly fine because it will clean the air. What I typically recommend, though, is take advantage of the timer feature that's on these things. So every time you finish up in the shop, at the end of the day, click it on for a couple hours, leave the shop, and then when you come back, you're going to be welcomed to a nice clean air shop that you don't necessarily feel like you have to throw your respirator on right away because that thing was working after you left and after you stopped producing dust. Now, like anything concerning shop safety, ultimately the decision is yours. How far do you want to take it? For me, I think a respirator is a great way to go, and some people may think that's a little bit overkill. But if I'm going to go overboard in any area concerning woodworking, safety is probably not a bad one to focus on. Now, hopefully I've given you enough information that you can go out there, pick out your own respirator, and know that you're getting exactly what you need to keep yourself safe in the workshop. So until next time, breathe easy, friends. Take care.